Welcome back. You're back, Migo.
Yes, I am. Welcome back, everyone else, to Asia Pickleball Insider. We are here again. We are still remote, but not really, because we're both
Not
back.
really. We're trying to find a good situation for in-person recording. What we did last time we rented a studio was one camera. It just wasn't quite the right setup, but I've got some plans. I'm gonna keep you in on, Migo. I've got a little in-home setup I'm trying to work on here, so it'll be good.
Yeah,
So hopefully
apartment
next
looks
week.
great. Just in the background.
This is AI. This is fake. No, just kidding. It's real. It's real. It does kind of look fake though. It's like I definitely didn't like design that.
Too good to be true.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I have a bunch to talk about. PPA Vietnam was crazy. Crazy matches, crazy upsets, and breaking world records.
I want to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but we'll get there.
All right. So where do you want to start? The singles, the doubles? What do you think is the first?
Let's just talk about it, kind of like not just so much the results. I mean, the results people watch, you kind of know what happened, but obviously this was kind of the last tournament in the Asian swing, which I think PPA has to look at it as probably a general success. They especially being able to have a lot of the American players come over this go round, great exposure for the players over here. I would say the American players probably were a little surprised at the level, I would guess. You saw Ben, for example, not get men's gold in Malaysia or Vietnam and get pushed to 3 games in quite a few. And honestly, shouldn't have even medaled in Vietnam. We'll get to that match, but yeah, my partner that I had in Malaysia, Vanchik, partnered up with his fellow Indian player Harsh Mehta. Just a tough match to watch, to be honest. They were up big in every single game. They ended up losing in a very close third game, but I believe they were up 8-0 in game one, ended up losing it. They were up big in game two, squeaked out a win in game two. And then game three, we're up 9-1 in the third against Ben and Deckel and ended up dropping that one as well. So, if they win that, then, no medal in men's doubles for Ben and Deckel. And that would have been quite a result. I don't think you had the most motivated Ben in the bronze match. You typically won't, if he's not playing for gold. So at the same time, that makes it even a little tougher to swallow that, you couldn't pull it out. But great showing, honestly. Just generally speaking, great showing by especially the Indian players. Vanchik had a great couple of weeks.
Mhm.
Harsh did really well, also in mixed. Had some good wins in mixed, Harsh did. So really great
Mhm.
tournament for him. And I think just overall, eye opener for the States, right? To see, okay, the levels good out here.
Absolutely.
What was your
I think coming into it, a lot of the US players were thinking, oh, Asia might be 1 year, maybe even 2 years behind the States. Give them a few more years, they can catch up. But the results don't show that. You have in mixed, you had the Trong siblings beating Tyson and Zoe, who were playing well the entire tournament. Now they did both play the gender doubles before that, but still, it was a crazy result.
We're still talking a match a day, it's not like it is interesting though, because we were talking about like how tired people are getting. And hey, look, I lasted a game, in my last match. But at the same time, it's like a lot of these players, like progressive draws aren't like, they're not the craziest days. Your matches are spread out over a week basically. So you're not playing a ton of, like, it used to be we'd play 5 best 2 out of 3 matches in a day. Now it's progressive and it's like you got one match ahead of time. There's no excuse to be tired in the next match, especially indoors.
Yeah, I think the weather is still something that the US players like. Of course, there's gonna be people that are saying, "Oh, it was the weather. Oh, it's the climate." But then it's like home court advantage in pickleball. Like you could say the Asian players were doing well because they had that home court advantage. How much do you think that really played into it, or how much of it was really just the level?
Was that arena not air conditioned?
Not sure. I think the lighting was a bit. I lighting looked a bit off in the live stream. I'm not sure if that was something that was actually affecting the player.
I think it's a home court advantage if you are playing outdoors, like straight up outdoors. Also like covered like Malaysia. I think that's definitely favors players that train in that all the time. They're acclimated to it. In the States, we get heat and humidity, but we're not playing many tournaments in the summer, for example, in South Florida. They they strategically place tournaments in places where the weather is going to be more suitable for good weather. We'll play in Florida in the winter, that kind of thing, but we won't play in the summer. So we're not typically seeking out these or like competing in these really hot and humid events. You know, you might have one, call it the Midwest, Cincinnati or something, where you have a heat wave that week, but it's not a normal thing to play in like crazy heat and humidity like we're seeing over here. So I think it definitely gives the advantage to the Asian players, but not to the point where it's marginal, right? It's a marginal advantage.
Yeah, I get that. And I think another thing was just, I know, of course, we're comparing the US, which is a country, to the entire continent of Asia. So, of course, the level in Asia is gonna improve faster. It's also younger here. But honestly, tennis is Laver Cup. People thought, oh, it might take a while for the Asia to catch up to the level where they can compete against the US. But at this point, would that not be a competitive event? Like the best players from the US versus the best players in all of Asia.
US versus Asia or US versus the world?
US, all right, Laver Cup's the US versus the world would
Or we could say
be
Asia versus the world if we want to get crazy.
Asia versus the world. Actually, yeah, because it's continent. Do you think that would be competitive
I think, well, who do we have, right? It's like, who do we have over here?
in the
We got,
men's?
yeah, we got QD.
Mhm.
Women's, you got some, you got some good players. You have Jamie Wei, who would represent Asia, I think, for Taiwan. Yufei, you've got good players over here.
The Chuang sibling.
Yeah, if they wanted to play for Vietnam, play for Asia, they could. They could also play for the States, so it'd be interesting. But that's the thing, right? They probably wouldn't be on the team for the States. You know,
Yeah,
the States is so deep that they would be better suited playing for Asia. I think that would be super fun. You know, I think it would. Now there's enough depth globally, especially if you're taking players from their home countries. Maybe they live and train in the States and compete in the States now. Like you have like Fed, who's, from Argentina. He would represent South America. He wouldn't represent the States for that. Same with like Pablo Tellez and guys like that. So, and then you have for Europe, you have like Jay DeVilliers, Pat Smith. You have, Lena Padejamaite, which, maybe that's a not as well known of a name over here, but she's, I believe, from Eastern Europe. So I think talent spread out enough and global enough to where we could have, whether it's like a Laver Cup style or whether it's more of like a Davis Cup style. I think either way it would be really fun. And I think Asia would do well just purely based on, again, like nobody would want to play Asia in Asia, right? Especially like we talked about this in another podcast or you mentioned it, and it's that pride, specifically the country pride. But even if it was Asia, kind of lumped together, I think you'd still have that pride. Asia would be a dangerous team to play, especially on Asian soil.
yeah. And I think that brings us to something that these tournaments definitely did help towards, which is getting pickleball closer to the Olympics, which I think across the world is really everyone's goal right now for pickleball. And, these tournaments were a great step, connecting the different tournaments, connecting the different countries, and showing that it's possible. It's possible. It's not just going to be like swimming in the Olympics. Other countries really stand a chance. You know, so this is the last PPA tournament in Asia from this what I can see on the schedule for the next few months, I think.
I heard there might be one in November, and that's kind of like, this feels a little bit like what was going on in the States a few years ago at the beginning of the tours. It's like, a new tournament would spin up and you're like, oh, there's another APP, there's another PPA in November. Okay, cool. I guess we'll play it. So it feels a little bit like that where like, they're just like, maybe we should do a tournament now or then. And then they spin it up and then they have it. There might be, I heard there might be one at the end of November. Then I also heard there's an independent tournament in China at the end of November. That's something, well, one, looking for next year for my schedule, I need to figure out what I'm going to play. And if these, like that 7-league alliance has their schedule out yet, I don't know if they do. And that's a little bit of a detractor from players that are opting not to sign the exclusive contracts with PPA. It's, PPA is a little bit of not a little bit, PPA is a safe bet right now.
Mm.
Exactly, they're going to have their tournaments. If they say they're going to have a tournament, they're going to have it. They're going to put it on, do a good job. That's proof that we just saw that in Malaysia and Vietnam, PPA Asia, that their team did really well in terms of putting on these events. I heard the first PPA Malaysia didn't go quite as well. I don't remember quite what happened, but this
And
one seemed good.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
yeah.
But even like with the tickets being oversold this time, like you're gonna have growing pains like that. That's to me, that's not a very big deal. What matters more is that they can deliver something that is actually production worthy. And I think what they did in Malaysia more so than Vietnam to me was definitely production worthy and newsworthy and will really drum up interest, not just from, players, fans, but also sponsors, which is a really big deal, right? As an emerging sport in Asia, it's like getting those early sponsors on board is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's still a lot of paddle brands, pickleball brands sponsoring the tournaments. But if we really want the sport to grow, it's gonna need to be a lot of external money coming into the sport instead of, just being recycled
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, we need that. We need those like insurance financial companies, right? Let's get Amex Asia out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get Toby Sports out here just changing the game.
Well, actually, season two just got announced, and that we already have teams forming here in the Philippines, and other countries have already started doing their. And it looks like it's gonna be really, really exciting this coming season. We have the slots are already full in the Philippines, actually, all eight, and it's gonna be competitive. The best
So
players in the country.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that because I had a guy from a guy I know from the States, Randy Coleman, come up to me in Malaysia. And we chatted about PCL in respect to Thailand's representation. And he's based up in Chiang Mai, which beautiful part of the country. I lived there back in 2015, actually, for about 6 months and loved it. But pickleball is growing fast there. It's growing fast in Bangkok. You got guys like Matt Nola opening facilities in Bangkok. Randy approached me. He was just like, "What's up with PCL?" He's like, $1,000 per team. He's like, I just don't think I can do that. So I would say Thailand, economically is not so different than the Philippines. So what has been your strategy, Migo, in terms of being able to field teams and also pay the $1,000 entry fee for the event per
yeah.
club?
And it was a challenge that we had to think about, but it really just came down to one was being direct with how we were doing it. We can't just put a $1,000 ticket on a website and expect people to pay for it. So what
And
we
to be
had them
clear,
do,
it's $1,000 per club, right? Per team that you're putting
yeah,
together, which has how
yeah,
many players?
4 and 2 subs.
So 6 players total. So if they just split that amongst themselves, it'd be $170 ish. Maybe that's
Yeah,
wrong. Ish.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, most tournaments here, the entry fee is $40 for
Much
a
lower.
pair.
Right.
Yeah.
So how are you approaching that um in terms of being able to either, you're not going to have people affording that all over the country, especially in kind of the provinces here and stuff like that. So how are you subsidizing that with like how are they able to pay that fee?
And yeah, so one, it's always sponsors. PCL has been really great providing sponsor assets, so we could directly send to the teams. If you want to look for sponsors, here are materials you can use to tell the possible sponsors about the tournaments and what's gonna happen. But also just understanding what we're selling. It's $1,000 ticket, so you're not just gonna put it up on a website and say, "Hey, you can pay for it here." We had people personally message me, personally message the team, so we could tell them this is what's going on. We set meetings up with them so they could understand what value they were getting from it, and being just salesmen pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's
So
like a
let's
sales rep
say
now.
let's say I'm a let's say I have a club in Cebu and I have a team that I want to put together and you're talking to me about PCL. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, get $1,000 together for this team, but I really want to do it. But I just, that feels like a big stretch to me. What support, because in terms of the Philippines, are you like, what's kind of the hierarchy? What is your role outside of just like, being involved in PCL? Like, are you helping other clubs around the Philippines get those sponsors, or what is kind of how does it work?
Well, funnily enough, a lot of the clubs have their own sponsors already. A lot of the venues either have a sponsor or the people that set up the venue because they had money from another company that they could use the sponsor.
Okay. So you're
So a
saying
lot of it's
that getting a sponsor hasn't proven to be like that crazy hard.
not really, no. There's a lot of paddle brands, paddle distributors here sponsoring, a lot of real estate companies, and a lot of great brands that are more than willing to give out that what is here 50,000 pesos, 57, 58,000 pesos.
And honestly, you don't need just one, right? You could have a couple sponsors at 500 each, which isn't that's not crazy for a company here.
Yeah, not at all, not at all. And yeah, so the slots are full, exciting. The teams are being formed.
So are there going to be the 256 teams? Is that a real number?
We're just worried about our 8 teams here.
Sure.
But I'm sure PCL they'll have more. They have more than enough people working and doing a great job to get that number.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's pretty cool though. 256 teams competing all to go to the finals in Shenzhen. Like that's and all of the entry fees funnel back to the prize purse, which is like, let's talk about some of my favorite tournaments are money balls, like back in the States. Like that was kind of early pickleball, and they still have
Mhm.
them. Like you just throw in money and then it all kind of goes to a purse, right? Like that's like this on steroids though. So this is like this is the world's greatest money ball.
Yeah, and it's exciting. The tournament here in the Philippines is gonna be happening in November, so I'm excited for that. It's gonna be fun to tournament direct. I don't think it's gonna be too stressful, but then it's even gonna be even more exciting to just watch.
Is it going to be at the mall again?
It's gonna be at the mall again, Mall of
Dang,
Asia,
that's
one of the
awesome.
biggest. We're gonna be live streaming it too, so it's gonna be super awesome to watch. Might commentate. You could get on the mic too if you want.
Me and you, baby. Me and you, Asia Pickleball Insider podcast live. Let's go. I'm in.
All right,
What's
and in
the
China,
date of that again?
November 15 and 16. So 15 is like the round robin, 16 is the bracket, and then we're all flying off to China for the finals in December.
Yep, I'm
That's
doing
also
that
gonna
too.
be that's gonna be super 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 duper exciting. And yeah, I think
talked about we talked about how it's adjusted from season 1 to season 2. Now it's kind of open, right? We have the rule for no super teams by having, the one must play with the 8, that kind of thing. But have we seen, like for the Philippines, for example, you have SJ, Lem, and you have Leander as kind of the two best players, male female. Are we seeing throughout, not just the Philippines, but throughout the other countries, are we seeing kind of their top pros jumping into the mix here?
so. From what I know, Leander and Sarah are not joining this tournament, but everyone on there is. So our 2 or 3 or 4 is joining. I think there is a team to look out for that they seem very strong. It's a team involving Nick and Fatima from season
Mm,
1.
yep.
Those two
So
have a
season 1 champions, right?
season 1
Not just the
champions.
Philippines, but also of overall.
Yeah, the MVPs are back, and it's gonna be exciting to see what they're able to do.
Yeah. I'm impressed with Fatima. She plays well. Tell her to get back up to the line a lot. And I also sent a message to SJ because I was watching her and Leander play mixed. And they were both staying off. I don't know if it's a Filipino thing, but they were both staying off the line on like just dinking. And I'm like, you're giving too big of a area for a safe zone for your opponents. Like get on the line, pinch it.
I
So
think okay.
I
I
need to do a pro clinic here in the Philippines and get everybody dialed in.
It's gonna put a wall behind everyone, and then
Yeah. Yeah, you
right
can't
next
back
to them.
up.
I think it's also just a height thing. I think like everyone here is under 6 feet tall, right?
Me too. 5'11".
In shoes.
5'11", I would say. I'd like to say I'm 6 foot tall. I just don't think I am. I think it's a stretch.
Here you're probably 6 foot tall, because everyone else is saying they're 5'11", and they're
Okay,
not.
fair.
But yeah, and I think so. There's another thing to shout out, and I think the other levels of players that should hopefully join PCL. We really hope to see them there. Someone like a Thomas Yu, who did
Yeah.
just absolutely amazing in
Oh, he did awesome.
PPA.
Yeah. Even under the weather too. He wasn't feeling great, and I mean, he was in the absolute worst part of the draw, but made the best of it. Took out, last week I talked about on the pod that I thought Armon on paper was probably the 1 seed, and he got slotted in to play
Once
the actual 1 seed, who was Eric Onsens, in the round of 16, but he obviously never got there because Thomas took him out and then also took out Eric Onsens. And I think he ended up losing to, Thomas
folk
ended up losing to Fook, who ended up winning the event. But I mean, just unreal effort by Thomas. Great wins.
Yeah, crazy. And I think even in the singles also, in the women's singles, you had Caitlyn and Roos who were in the gold medal match last time playing in the bronze.
Yeah.
So a lot more variance in the singles compared to the doubles. Because the doubles was Tyson and Eric again, and it was Caitlyn and Roos. Sorry, Caitlyn and and Zoe again.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
a lot more
Yeah.
stable in gender doubles, and then
Yeah.
singles and mixed big variants there.
Yep. And I think so. Sarah Dennehy beat Caitlin Christian this time in the singles, which just kind of shows you. I mean, Caitlin's a great singles player. I mean, she can play with basically anybody in the States and give anybody a match. Maybe save it Anna Lee, but just kind of shows the depth that we have out here in Australia. And it's yeah, I think the global landscape is really shifting and the level is rising. And not just that, but events like this, especially for guys like Vanchik and different players that don't always get these opportunities to play top US pros, it's going to really build belief. And, you know, they have confidence because they win a lot out here. So they could take it one or two ways, right? They could like take a loss to a top team and be like, I thought I was better than that or whatever. But I'm hoping they take it as proof that they can not only compete but can win. And I just hope, just as a player and like as a coach and as somebody that wants to see the Indian players do well and the Asian players do well, I hope they are not happy. This kills me as a competitor. I hope they are not happy with a close loss. You still lost. It's not a win. You lost. Might as well lose 11-0, 11-0. Just because you lost in a close match is not a good result. I don't care what anybody tells you. Because you lost 11-9 in the third or 13-11 in the third, it's still a loss.
Yeah.
Loss. So you gotta figure out how to close out those games, especially up 9-1. You gotta close it out. And you had 3 chances, 3 different games to close it out.
It feels very personal. I feel like Vanchik's getting a long message after this.
I mean, I'm proud of him. I thought he played great, and I thought he played smart too. I thought, which was the only knock I could give him really is decision making sometimes. And I thought he was patient. He was pretty dialed in, strategically. But you've got to just know got to know how to close. Good lesson. I just don't want him to be happy with a close loss.
It's fair because he
Yeah.
had it. He had it. And
He had
next
it.
time, well, no, when there is a next time, because he's such a good player, he will be back in that position.
No, for
again.
sure. For sure. And the way I'm looking at it, he's 20 years old, right? He is very young. He's 20. He's got a lot of pickleball in front of him and a lot of upside. So I just want him to get more exposure like that because I think he can play with anybody.
Yeah. And I guess something else would be just where. So you guys don't want to talk about the venue, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. So I turned it on kind of every day a little bit and just, checked in, saw what was happening. Other than Saturday, Championship Saturday, the crowd was not impressive to me. Like it was very sparse. I didn't like the court setup. I thought the arena was cool. Like I loved the full bowl. I didn't like how there were however many courts kind of all down there spread out. It
yeah.
doesn't really suit itself for like a good intimate championship court like we saw in Malaysia. Like Malaysia was so sick. Like having that tight of a court, and I've talked about this literally for years, Migo, of the absolute best environment to play as a player and also to watch as a fan is a really tight center championship court where there's not a lot of room on the sidelines, there's not a lot of room in the baselines. The fans are basically sitting right on top of the court, and like I want the person in the front row to like feel sweat come off my hand when I swing. Like I want that kind of environment because it's just fun. Like Malaysia was to that as a player is just an absolute blast. And I would imagine playing in this arena on championship court where fans are off in the distance on one side and nowhere near on the other side. It's not conducive to a good championship court or to like honestly the broadcast or a live stream. It doesn't look good. Even if you have fans that are in the stadium or the arena, the fact that they're so far away you have to have tight seating to championship court and it needs to be fully surrounded on all sides. That's I'll leave it to that.
Yeah.
And then also the note on the record crowds is it was empty all week. Yes, it looked awesome being full on Saturday. Still, it's manufactured. It's a PR stunt. It's marketing, which I get, but it's a little dishonest to say that it's that it's a spontaneous world record crowd. It's not. You guys are giving away tickets to students, to whoever you're giving tickets away to come in and fill the arena. And
Really?
it's proven because you had the Guinness World Record people there. So obviously it's a stunt, right? Like they announced it, the largest crowd at the closing ceremony or whatever. So yeah, it's a stunt, and it feels like it's something that PPA does a lot, and they're good at it because having these manufactured, like, record breaking, first time ever, the only one to ever do this, like, that is good for sponsors. That's good to keep investors engaged, but it doesn't really show actual growth of viewership in the sport. If you have to manufacture a stunt to get a stadium full, which, hey, look, props. It's marketing. That's important. But at the same time, it's a little misleading in respect to showing actual viewership of pro pickleball in Asia. I think a better representation was Tuesday through Friday, which had, kind of a few people here and there. I think if we want to look at, I think what's better than having a world record in Vietnam is actually showing real viewership of what happened in Malaysia. Because to me, that is truly what, Asia pickleball is. And that's not manufactured. That's people getting pissed off because they bought tickets and can't get into the court. Like, that's real stuff. Yeah, exactly. You and your dad. So
Yeah.
that's just my little spiel on Vietnam. I don't love those little stunts of, like, it feels like it's just, yeah, just manufactured. I get it's marketing, but let's not try to act like it's spontaneous, viewership and fandom in Vietnam. It's not.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing for me was when I saw Eric after he won the men's doubles, trying to figure out how he could pop off like he could in Malaysia. But then the crowd was so far away. He tried throwing his paddle up, and then it didn't go over the wall. So he had to
Yeah.
pick it up, throw it up again, and then it ended up in like the first row.
Yeah. It's just a bit of a disconnect between, like, yeah, I think tale of two events, right? It's like, it was so fun to watch, Eric run around the court and, give high fives to the fans and have the camera guy, sprinting after him. Like, those are the memories and the moments that you love, not just as like somebody watching on the live stream, but like, if you're a fan and you're able to high five the player and the energies like that, man, that's cool. That's special. And Vietnam just felt sterile, boring, no fan engagement. Like, it wasn't the same.
Yeah, it was a little harder for them. I don't know if it was a venue issue. Like they couldn't. I'm sure Vietnam has good stadium courts though.
You'd think. I mean, I get the reason you'd want to use an arena. Like, in theory, it's great. It's a great idea. I just don't think it was executed well in terms of, like, a stadium court. Like, put the stadium court up against a wall where there's, good seating built in, but then, like, actually build out bleachers around the other sides of the court so it's tight.
Yeah, especially on Championship Sunday when they're only using two
Yeah,
courts.
all the other courts were empty. It was very odd to see, like, an arena full of people and only one court have players on it. And it, like, if you're on the far side of the arena, it's like you're not watching that match. You can't even see it.
Oh,
It's too far.
that looks like Tyson. He's wearing a tank top. I'm pretty sure that's him. And you're all the
It's
way
like
up.
you're at a Taylor Swift concert on the Eras tour, like, watching from, like, you're seeing the behind the stage. You can't even see her. It just felt like
You have to
that.
use binoculars to see the ball. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So I mean, just notes for the future. Notes for future tournaments.
Props to actually executing, getting people in that stadium, though, or the arena. I mean, that's regardless of whether it's a stunt or not. You got 6,000 people to go in that building, which is not
Yeah,
easy.
for sure. And I'm sure like that's just one part of Vietnam. Well, hoping to break that here in 2027 when when they come here. I think the Philippines could do it. If anyone can.
When are we gonna start? We got to start building, like, some facilities, Migo.
Hey, we're trying. We're trying. I actually had someone message me this week to ask
Let's do
about
it. I'm in. I want to build some facilities.
we gotta find land. It ain't cheap here.
No, I know. Which is like, I think so. That's actually an interesting point because people see, like, how fast courts are going up in Malaysia, and you guys have to understand. And this is not something I understood till I got here. Like, obviously, I rented an Airbnb when I was in KL, and I was initially staying at the Courtyard by Marriott, which is right there, which was cheap. Also, in terms of U.S. standards, I mean, it was like $90 a night, which, you're staying at like a motel in the States for that for an event, especially in a big city. So the fact that it was $90 a night, I was like, oh, this is cheap. I'm going to book this. And then I just like, you know what? Let's see if there's like some cool Airbnbs around. And the Airbnb was $140 for the whole week. So that just kind of gives you an idea of rental prices, real estate in KL. I mean, for that same week, you're gonna pay at least $100 a night for an equivalent place, right? So I mean, we're talking 6-7x cost in terms of real estate and rental prices in the Philippines compared to KL. Like Malaysia's very cheap in terms of pretty much everything. And it surprised me that the Philippines, you're right, like the land is actually quite expensive, especially in some of the more popular areas. So it's either a matter of, and the main point was that's why we've seen facilities pop off in KL is because it's much cheaper. There's more land, there's more space to actually get these facilities up. And the Manila Metro, anyways, there's much less land and much more expensive land. So that's why we've seen the growth in terms of facilities a little slower in Manila versus KL.
Yeah, I think the Philippines, the way it's gonna work is it's gonna be a lot of smaller facilities that are gonna pop up. It's gonna be a basketball court that gets lines, or it's gonna be a basketball court that maybe gets converted, but that's in and of itself difficult. And it's not really that there's less land; it's just there's so much people crammed in such a small space here.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. And KL is not really like that. I feel like Manila is very spread out too. Like the Manila Metro is huge. And
Yeah, but
what's the population?
population of the Philippines as a whole is
Manila.
115, and then Manila is, I think, Metro Manila it says 14. I don't think that's accurate. It's probably more. It's probably 14 people that actually live here. Then during the day, it's like 20, 25. And for context, the whole population of Malaysia is 35 million. The whole
All right.
country.
So we're talking, just for context for US listeners, Manila is basically double the size of New York City, population wise. So think about that, right? Think about that. That's actually insane to think about. So when we talk about a lot of people crammed in, it's a lot of people crammed in.
Yep. You're just trying to get around. But well, that's another issue. The athletes would need to stay really close to the venue, or else they are not getting there on time.
Yeah, exactly. So just need to build venues with housing. Easy.
Sounds easy enough.
Easy. Got Toby Sports leading the way. Just get your dad on it.
Not gonna work.
You're like, we're busy enough.
Yeah.
I did see, just talking about kind of, talking about the landscape of facility infrastructure. I did see that Singapore is hosting. Well, Singapore's been one. I've never been to Singapore, so I want to go. But they had a tournament going on that was, let's see, I believe it was called Pickle Sprout. Basically, it was a tournament only for novices, so for beginners, basically. And I believe I think it's the largest tournament in Singapore. Was kind of how it was, largest official novice tournament in Singapore was how it was worded, but really good in terms of, like, I like that approach in terms of just getting more players playing at a competitive level, because I think there were actually like restrictions, like you couldn't have medaled in another tournament. You couldn't, like, your duper has to be less than a 4.0. You can't have been playing for more than 18 months. Like, there were actual restrictions to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a unique niche to really just go after kind of the beginner market. And that is the largest market. I always talk about, it's like everybody's trying to build stuff in pro pickleball, which is like the tiniest part of the market. Like, go to the mass markets where people are like out playing for the first time, and give them an actual competitive outlet tournament to play at, and let them have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I did see that just the growth in Singapore, for example, and according to Pickleball News Asia, Singapore saw almost 8,000 court bookings a month in 2025 compared to what used to be like 20 bookings a month. Crazy growth from the Singapore perspective, and just another testament to pickleball participation-wise, just going insane.
Yeah. And just going back to the novice being the biggest part of the market, it's absolutely true. Whenever we did our signups for the Super Series here, novice would fill up in like 30 seconds. Intermediate, 2 to 3 minutes. Advanced would take about an hour. And then whenever you do an open tournament, you have to personally message the open players, hey, do you guys want to join? Like, we have to remind them there's a tournament out just so they'd sign up. While the novice, coming from all the way from like a province in the south, they heard about the tournament on Facebook, and then they're like, oh, okay, signs up in 10 seconds.
It's good because it's social. There's low expectations, right? I think once people start thinking about duper and like then they start taking like lessons and clinics and camps, it gets to the point where like it gets stressful, right? Even though they're not like trying to be a pro, it's almost like they are based on how serious they take it. It's like and that's why I also just think it's like that's the best market is because there's low expectations. There's less pressure to perform, to get a medal, to sandbag, to all the stuff we see like as players go from like a 3-0 to a 4-0 where things just get more serious and then like you start trying to protect your duper, you start trying to like be strategic with what it's like just who cares? Go play and have fun.
Yeah. And that's just the great part about pickleball in and of itself. It's just such a fun, easy sport that also gets really dang competitive.
It does, especially in rec. And it's like, guys, just we're having fun.
I haven't seen someone have fun at pickleball in
It's very true. It's very true. It's like, why are you so angry? You're supposed to have fun
yeah. I'm probably gonna play later. So
and be
hopefully.
angry.
Depends who I end up playing against.
I'm
But
already
yeah.
like missing playing. I've got my had knee surgery. It
Oh yeah, do you
went
want to talk about that?
yeah, sure. It went well. Thanks to your dad. Your dad hooked me up with a great doc, a good orthopedic surgeon who, and I'll say he was a good doc because his initial strategy was not just to commit and scope it and get done with it, which is a lot of kind of the doctors in the States. It's big business, right? These meniscus tears, big business. You go in, you trim it, you go to the next patient, go in, you trim it. But like when you trim a meniscus, that cartilage is gone forever. It can't
Yeah.
regenerate. Well, what that means is you're basically losing the meniscus is a shock absorber for your knee. So when it gets trimmed out, you're losing the shocks basically, and you'll get more bone on bone. It leads to early arthritis if you get a fair amount of your meniscus trimmed out. Good orthopedic surgeons prefer to repair it, which is basically if it's repairable, let's call it like let's say if it's a tear like mine was like this, basically, they'll want to go in, suture it together and kind of pull it tight so it'll heal like that. But for it to heal, there's no weight bearing for 6 weeks. It's a much, much longer recovery. So much longer recovery back to sport. And I was like, dude, I'm 40. I got to get back on court. I got a small window to play pro pickleball here before I get too old. So I want to get back on court. I don't want to have arthritis early. But so he was just like, okay, we're going to trim as little as possible just to get you back on court. And there will be enough if you want to repair it later on that we could suture it together later on. But just got to trim this time. But great doc, because his initial default setting was let's repair to keep your cartilage.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. I got trimmed, but that's okay. I got my left knee. I also got done about 3 years ago, and that was also just a trim. And I've had zero issues with it since, and it's felt really, really good since. So fingers crossed that is the same prospect for my right knee, and that I can be back on 2 good knees for the first time since Lord knows when.
Yeah. When's your recovery? How long's your recovery?
So he asked me, he's like, so when's your next tournament? I was like, well, I hear there's a tournament at the end of November in China. He's like, you'll be fine. So should be 6 weeks, I think. 6 weeks to where like I'm actually able to play decently well. 8 weeks to where I'm like fully moving and feeling good. And probably like 4 weeks to get back on court and actually start, doing some footwork stuff and plyometrics and stuff like that. And I get stitches out the end of this week. So once stitches come out, I'll start getting on the bike a little bit, start doing some strength training more so than just what I'm doing now, which is basically leg lifts and quad sets and stuff like that. So yeah, excited just to get like one, get it done because I've been putting it off for so long, and two, just to go through the reps and the boring rehab that you have to do.
Yeah. So yeah, good to hear you're getting better and excited to see you back on court.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to like actually be able to train on. I've been protecting my right knee for so long because the original tear happened January 2024. So what, dude? It's like 12,
No, that's 2 years.
almost 2 years. Yeah, it's been like essentially like 20 months of playing on a torn meniscus through cortisone shots and whatnot, and just past year it's started to lock up a lot. So I've changed the way I've moved completely in terms of adjusting the way I move to protect my knee and not not bend as much as I normally would, not take the extra steps I normally would. So I'm excited to actually relearn my movement on court because I've been playing for so long protecting my knee that I haven't been one getting as low as I would typically get, taking the extra steps I typically would get. Like I've really had to change my entire way of playing to protect the knee. And that's affected me more than I think I've let on or understood. So I'm excited to just fully be able to get my movement back and not protect it and just go all out. And I think movement's honestly like one of the stronger parts of my game. Even though I'm 40, I would honestly say that I'm probably like in quick bursts, just as quick as anybody. Longer stretches, less so. But the first 3 or 4 steps, I think I'm just as quick as anybody out there. So I'm excited to get that back.
That's gonna be exciting to watch, exciting to see. But yeah, I think that about covers this week.
Yeah, man. Good to have
Awesome.
you back. Solo, just talking solo to myself, is not as fun.
I'm sorry. I'll be here. I mean, I ain't going anywhere. Don't worry.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, we'll do it again next week, and hopefully we'll do it in person next week. I'll figure out a good setup for us.
Yeah. Excited for that. And so that's about it for this week of Asia Pickleball Insider. We'll be
Like,
back.
subscribe, share, all of it.
Yep. And we will see you guys again next
All right. Bye, guys.